Well, for more on finance, we're joined by Rod North, the Executive Director of Bourse Communications. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, yesterday was a relatively okay day for the Australian market.
Yes, we actually saw some signs of life in the Australian share market, up 1%. So it was looking perilously close last Friday that the All Ords might dip below 4,000, but we had quite a good recovery yesterday, so up 1%. So the All Ords finished at 4,120. But of course, without any lead on Wall Street last night, the $64,000 question will be, what will happen on the market today, because we'll be looking obviously for some leads out of Europe and also the US, even though the Asian markets yesterday afternoon were actually quite positive as well. So we might be sort of at a bit of a watershed moment, I think, because a lot of the focus is going to be on what's going to happen in Greece with the election, not until the 17th of June. So we might be in a bit of a hiatus period between now and then, even though we've got some pretty significant data coming out, particularly from the US and obviously China as well, in the next few days.
The lull before the potential storm. Now, speaking of China, our economy, our market is still tied very, very closely to what happens in the Middle Kingdom. You, in fact, have just spent some time on the ground there. I
have. I've been there for the last week, and it's quite interesting because, we're worried about the fact that China's growth, which in the last few years has been up around 9 or 10%, dipped back to about 7.5 to 8%, which is still extraordinary growth. And I think any OECD country would be happy to have growth anywhere near that. And what I'm seeing, travelling through quite a few of the provinces in China, is just extraordinary investment in infrastructure. There's so much happening with roads, still building. No impression when you're on the ground in China for a week, where you're going through places where you've got populations in some provinces of 8 to 10 million, and then you end up in Shanghai, where there's any evidence that the economy is slowing down at all. So we may get a slight sort of dip, but I think there's a very good chance of that being quite a soft landing. And I think, China's growth is pretty much assured to continue around that sort of 8% level for some time, from what I can see. The other thing that's quite interesting is there's a lot of companies in China that are looking to list on the Australian Stock Exchange, as Australian Securities Exchange, because in China you can wait up to 3 years before you can actually list. So we're going to see quite a few companies lining up, I think, over the next 12 months to 2 years to list here, as opposed to Hong Kong and Singapore, because they see those markets as being more volatile. Our market's seen as being mature, regulated, and of course Australia's a great place, to be.
Now, take us through these online retail figures that NAB has put out.
Yes, that's been quite an interesting figure. $11 billion spent on the internet, so that's represents 5.1% of total sales. But the thing that was interesting was 75% of that 11 billion has been activated effectively from Australian websites. And the other thing, of course, is that you look at the sort of demographic and age group, is generally been in the sort of 30 to 40 year age groups, where that significant trend, is continuing to buy online. So, that's a pretty significant figure. We've known that online's significant. It's obviously growing at 5.1%. That was up from the previous 12 months of 4.9%. So I think, the internet side of things and online sales are here to stay. And of course, we're now seeing, finally, our major retailers in Australia realise how important that is. And let's hope they're not going to be too late in jumping on the bandwagon there.
I've been admiring your tie, Rod. Is that,
yes,
is that the Diamond Jubilee
I've
tie?
worn this especially for you, Michael. Diamond Jubilee, yes, all the crown heads of Europe. I thought you'd like that one.
Yes, very majestic.
Thank you.
We'll have to get Michael one. Rod, thanks very much.
Absolutely. Good.
Coming up on ABC News Breakfast, the Australian singer-songwriter Goitier has something else